Mr. Wade here. I'm now out in Washington, and I'm at a cemetery called Klamath Cemetery. Now, why am I out here in Klamath Cemetery? Well, I got another story to bring you guys. It's another sad story, but it's a good story because something that I knew about as a kid but wasn't functioning as to comprehend something like that. But I'm going to bring you guys a story, so I drove out here, Mr. Wade, to bring you guys a new story. Stay tuned. So as we see, it's not a real big cemetery, but a cemetery that's very quaint. Nice and breezy out here today. Nice, it's like 68 degrees right now. I'm in Klamath, Washington, and hope you guys enjoy this dark story that I'm going to tell you guys about Mr. Christian Brando. Stay tuned. Mr. Wade here. Now, the story that I have to tell you guys, see if this gives you a memory jar. I want to make you an offer you can't refuse. An offer you cannot refuse. Get the hint? Well, we're out here to give respect to Marlon Brando's son. His name is Christian. Now, back in the day, he was in the news a lot, and he did some things that wasn't quite right. But what do you expect when you're a son of 14 kids, of course, and you're the oldest, the eldest, and you mean that much more because you're the oldest to the father. So stay tuned. We're going to find Mr. Christian. Stay tuned. Don't leave. Stay tuned. So, Mr. Wade, I'm still looking for the grave. I will find it. It's not that big out here, so I gotta find it. Mr. Wade and finding graves, right? Stay tuned. All right, so let Mr. Wade break it down, the story that I'm about to tell you about Christian Brando. Now, you know he was a celebrity child. His father was Marlon Brando. He was in Godfather and a couple other films. There was a saga of Godfathers, and he was Marlon Brando. Come to find out about Marlon Brando, that once in his life, he was a bulimic. Wow. You know, Hollywood puts that stress on making weight and looking good for the camera. So, yeah, I do understand that part. Now, he had 11 kids. I seen a site that said 14, but I'm going by 11. Christian was his oldest son. Now, he was raised up on the estate over there in Mulholland Drive in Hollywood Hills. And his neighbor was Uncle Jack Nicholson. Wow. He even went to high school with Michael Jackson. He was around all those celebrities as a kid growing up. So anyways, to make the story unfold, he had a bad drinking problem as he got older. Now, prior to that, his mom had kidnapped him and took him off to Mexico. I think who took him was some hippies kidnapped him and took him to Mexico from the father. Marlon Brando won custody. So he eventually got his son back, which was his favorite out of all the kids. So anyways, he ended up back. He ended up being the celebrity child as usual. And he ended up getting into a lot of things. Well, as he got older, he got into drinking habits. So one day he was at this restaurant and his stepsister decided to go ahead and join him. She was 8 months pregnant at the time, and she decided to come on over there and just chill with him and have a good partake in a meal. Well, she tells him that her boyfriend that came with her from Tahiti or Hawaiian Islands was abusing her. Now, he was very protecting of his sister, who's not. I'm like that with my sister, who's not. So he goes back to the house, confronts the boyfriend who was on the couch with a remote control watching TV and a lighter. He confronts him with a gun, a .45. They get to tussling. He shoots him in the head, one shot. So eventually, he dies on the spot, of course. Marlon Brando comes downstairs in his 12-bedroom home. This took place in the den of the house. And he tried to give him mouth-to-mouth. Of course, nothing worked. A couple days later, he sent his daughter off back to with her mom out in, I think it's Tahiti, somewhere out that way. I'm going to post down there where she's at. So she's down there chilling over there. So she wouldn't be in a court trial because she was already kind of into the drug scene, kind of flighty. So he didn't want her there to tell on the brother. So Christian Brando ended up getting manslaughter for this. He got 10 years. He served 4.5 years of that sentence. Within the time he was in the prison of 4 years, his sister committed suicide. She hung herself at her mom's house. She was in a psych ward prior to that, but she hung herself in her mom's house. So he paroled. He got out into other things. He was back on freedom, right? So he's out free. Now, sooner or later, years go by, his father passes away, Marlon Brando. So his estate goes to some of his cold buddies and everything like that. It gets all mixed up, so he didn't get a dime or nothing. They was just rationed out to him. They ended up giving him a sum of $200,000 years down the road, and he ended up getting to meth and everything else, and he came out here to Washington. Now, he came out here because he'd been here before with his mom. Now, he likes it here because it's quaint, not the Hollywood drama. He came out here to be a welder, make some money, and he got married to a lady. Her last name was Elvis. She was putting out there in Hollywood that she was Elvis Presley's legitimate daughter, that she was one of his and he was not claiming her. No one bought that, of course. So he ends up doing odd end jobs out here in Kalama. He wasn't working, of course. He had a little money that ran out, of course, because he got into a drug habit. And he ended up going back to Hollywood. And there he got divorced from his wife that was out here, Elvis, and he met some other girl that was out there in Hollywood, and she was in the scene. She had an off Hollywood Boulevard apartment. Now, to break it down to the end, he ends up getting to the back in the party scene. Neighbors said they can hear him and her arguing a lot. He ends up getting involved with Robert Blake's wife. There was a big scandal in that. He got involved with her, and she ended up becoming murdered and died. And Robert Blake was blamed for the murder, but he ended up saying that he got off the murder because he put it off on Christian, whom, of course, did not go to trial, whom, of course, had an affair with her. And the rumor was that he put out for her death because she said that she was pregnant with his kid, but unfortunately, it was Robert's kid. Wow. So life goes on, right? He comes back to Washington, and he ended up succumbing to double pneumonia he ended up having, and no money. They gave him $200,000. The estate over his father's was just in control of somebody else that was stingy, was talking good game at the beginning, but they were stingy with the money when they got a hold of Marlon Brando's estate. Sold the house. The neighbor, Jack Nicholson, he shared a driveway with Marlon Brando. He ended up buying the house for $5 million instead of $10 million, but all kind of drama. Wow. So yeah, he died of pneumonia in the hospital. He was laid to rest out here, and that was an argument as well with the mom and Marlon Brando, his side of the family, and Marlon Brando, of course. But he ended up being buried out here. This is where he's at peace. And this is where his mom is next to him as well. And we're going to visit both of their graves today. So stay tuned for Christian Brando's grave. So this is the grave of Christian Brando, Marlon Brando's oldest son. The mystery of love, the gift was you, Christian Brando. The light and the truth, life is not forever, love is. May 11th, 1958 to January 26th, 2008. This is Christian Brando, Marlon Brando's oldest son. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video of the murder that was taking place by Christian Brando, Marlon Brando's son, the oldest. Stay tuned for a lot more. I'm out here at Kalama Cemetery. Stay tuned for a lot more coming to you from Tombstone Whispers. Stay tuned.